Exclusively nursing twins without formula is a decision. It's a decision that you have to make with yourself. It's a decision that you have to make with your partner, husband, whoever is going to be there with you. If you're going to be alone, if you're a single mom, it's a decision that you have to make with yourself, and you have to be mentally prepared for this undertaking. It's a beautiful journey. It's everything for your kids, but it is hard, it is fulfilling, and I am here to share my story. I am still currently nursing my 19-month-old twin daughters, and I'm just going to be sharing. So I did part one that came out last week, and then part two. This is part two. And because I'm still exclusively nursing them, I am going to be doing a follow-up. So whatever questions that y'all may have, if I missed anything, because I will be tackling some things that I noticed that I missed from part one, I will be addressing that in the beginning of this episode. But if there's any question that you all have, when I officially stop nursing my daughters, I am going to film another ending my breastfeeding journey video. So that is when I'll address any comments that y'all leave. And yeah, so again, you can always DM me though if you do have any questions now. I am more than happy to help out, because Mothering Holistically podcast is here to just amplify everyday moms' voices, creating a relatable space to share stories, practical tips, and inspiration. We empower moms to embrace every season of motherhood with confidence and pursue their dreams with resilience. And as a new mom myself, I truly, truly appreciate the tips and stories of other moms, and it is my hope that you will too. So if you feel comfortable to chat with me and share your story, I would love to hear from you. You can definitely connect with me at Kaylee Berlini on all social media platforms. You can follow the podcast Mothering Holistically on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, so let's just get right into it. So there are a few things that that I totally forgot to mention. And as I was editing part one, I jotted down the notes so that I can address those now. So the first thing that was in my notes that came to my mind apparently was that we did co-sleep. We did hear this is a controversial thing because I got a lot of flack, if that's a word. I say that. My husband was like, what's that? Anyway, I got a lot of heat for co-sleeping with my daughters. I started co-sleeping like on the floor, like with we have like this camping mattress, and it's like 2 inches thick. And I just laid that on the floor, and I started just like laying on the side and nursing on, and then I would literally flip. I would jump over them, or not jump over them, but you know what I mean, flip to the other side and then turn and nurse the other daughter. And I started doing that when they were about a month and a half, just waking up and trying to get them out of their bassinet, setting them up on the. So I was using all of this is going to be things that are part of my notes that I missed in part one. So I was using the My Breast Friend. I noticed that I didn't mention any of the pillows that I use, because I do feel like they're important. So I used the My Breast Friend, the one that allows you to nurse twins. I believe they have a singleton one. So I would recommend that you specifically get the ones for twins. And the only thing though is it's pretty expensive. Honestly, all the breastfeeding pillows are. It's pretty expensive, and I feel like they grew out of it really early. I don't know if it's just the way like my body type is or what, but I just felt like they were too high. Like, I don't know, it just felt awkward. So I am a huge advocate of hand-me-downs. If you can save a coin, honestly, it's sustainable, it helps the environment, and I am a huge, huge, huge advocate of hand-me-downs or thrift stores. Also try Facebook Marketplace. And so we do have a Once Upon a Child, which is like a baby thrift store very close to our home, and we went there when I was pregnant, and I just so happened to come upon a twin Z pillow. The clip was broken, but it was only what, $20 or something like that, husband? Like 20, yeah, $20. And it's like $150 pillow, $120 pillow. I don't know. It's something like that. I'll put up, the cost for the things like that on Amazon. I mean, what I will say is the pillowcase, because the store, it didn't come with the pillowcase. So the pillowcase for it was more than what I paid for the actual pillow, because the pillowcase is like $50 on Amazon or something like that. So anywho, I'm a huge advocate of thrifting, and I even bought like a little, the singleton. I don't know what the little pillows that go around you. I saw some people recommend it for the hospital. I didn't end up taking it to the hospital when I delivered my daughters, but that is something that I did pick up, and it was like $15 as well. So if you want to save some money, I do recommend thrifting if you have those options close by your house. So I used the My Breast Friend, and I was doing that like the first like month, of course, because then I started like co-sleeping at like a month and a half. I would still use the My Breast Friend like during the day, but in the middle of the night, since they were waking up so frequently, I ended up just laying on the floor with them because I was getting zero sleep. Like I mentioned in part one, they were waking up every 2 hours, round the clock. I was told by the doctor that because they were preemie, they were going to, it was normal, it was common for them to wake up so often compared to like my sister-in-law. My brother had their baby a month after me, and my niece was waking up like every 3 hours, I believe. And I mean, even that extra hour to me felt like gold. And for them to wake up every 2 hours, especially again, like I mentioned, it's start to start when you nurse them. So it just felt like I was getting no sleep. And I felt like the only thing that I could do was lay down with them and not sit up, because when you're that tired, you are gonna fall asleep. I mean, I am embarrassed to say that I fell asleep a few times. And I mean, I was so exhausted that they would cry and I wouldn't wake up. And like, I don't want to, I'm sharing, I'm trying to be transparent. And it was really tough, especially as a first time mom. You are not prepared. Even me telling you this, you will not be prepared for the lack of sleep, for the sleep deprivation. It is on a whole nother level. And again, that's why I say have that support team. If you are someone that is pregnant right now with twins or triplets or multiples, in general, I do recommend, if you can, if it is possible, to have your mom, your mother-in-law, your grandma hire. There are people out there that come and stay with you, like doulas and things like that. I do recommend that if you can swing it. If you can't, definitely put some things in place to prepare yourself for the sleep deprivation, because especially if I have also seen some people who are making it almost or dang near full term with their twins. So I don't know if they are going to wake up so much to nurse if they come out full term. But like I said, mine came out at 34 weeks and a day. So they were definitely preemie. They were small and they were hungry. I mean, they were, oh, was it insatiable? They were super, super hungry and they were eating all the time. I think the longest stretch that I got, because they say sometimes you have like a 5 hour stretch or something like that. I believe the longest stretch we got was like 3.5 to 4 hours. But it took me so much time to figure out when that stretch was. For us, I believe it was like 10 to 2 in the morning. And that's it. So I got on the floor with the mattress. Like, of course, air mattresses are really like, they're really loud. So this is not that. This is a camping air mattress. I'll try to put up a picture. They're really thin, so there's no like a lot of noise. It's not like, it's a pad. It's not like a, anyway, it's like a pad, but even though it's thin, I mean, I was big when I came out, and it still is comfortable for me. I think it's comfortable. So that is something that you can consider. Again, I know it's controversial, but I did not, even though I would sometimes like die sleep, I didn't move. There was something, I don't know, intuitively I did not move. I was like a brick. I just laid there. When they started crying, woke up, you know, popped the boob out, went over to the other side, fed the other baby, and then was able to fall asleep. So that's how I started to be able to get sleep in the early days. And honestly, so once they were like, I don't know, I think like 2.5 months, something like that, is when I ended up switching over to my Twin Z pillow, maybe like 3 months or something. The Twin Z pillow is, I've seen mixed opinions. This is what worked the best for me. I truly loved the Twinsy pillow. Like I said, I used it for like 3 months on. I stopped using it when I transitioned to only nursing them at night. Yeah, because even when I would nurse them in my bed, I would put a pillow underneath each side, and that's how I would do it. I don't know if I just was using My Breast Friend incorrectly, because I've heard a lot of people really love it and they found a lot of success with the My Breast Friend. I guess just the way I don't know. I just didn't like it. So luckily I was able to get the My Breast Friend gifted to me in our baby registry, and then I found the Twin Z pillow super cheap and affordable, and then I just washed it a bunch of times, sterilized it or sanitized it, and covered it with a brand new pillowcase, and that's what I did. So those are some options for a pillow. And like I said, I received backlash from family, but from co-sleeping. So again, proceed as you will. And what I have found is sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. No one is dealing with in my family, no one has twins except for me in my immediate family. So they don't really understand. And I love their concern. I'm super appreciative of their help and, all of that. But I had to do what I had to do to feed my babies, and to also, like, if you're not properly taking care of yourself, you're not going to produce milk. You're not going to be able to feed your babies. And that was number one priority for me. So, whatever I could do to make sure that I was able to be successful at breastfeeding is what I was willing to do. So I also would pump. I mentioned that in the first one, like I would pump and stuff. And I did that because I was trying to give myself a little break. So typically I would pump and then put the milk in the bottle. And then my mom and my husband would breastfeed them. I mean, my mom and my husband would bottle feed them. So that was like a little bit of a break for me. But I don't know. Like I said, I had to just give all that up with the bottles and things, because it was just too overwhelming to keep them clean and to always have my pump stuff ready to go. I didn't have like backup pump stuff. I always had just one set. The pump stuff, like the supplies, are very expensive in my opinion. So they say you're supposed to change them out every 3 months, because like the plastic, especially as you're sanitizing them in very high heat at high temperatures, the plastic will start to degrade, and so you don't want to compromise your milk, and all of that was just, it just felt like too much. And luckily I used the Medela. It was like I was able to rent it with my insurance for the first four. I extended it, I believe, so like the first 4 months, and then I got the Medela like mobile pump, so I didn't have to be stuck. I could walk around, do dishes, clean up, things like that while I pumped, and that was like the 3 months. So I definitely stayed within the rules because I am a stickler. I read in manuals and things like that. I'm one of those people. I do read manuals and I try to stick to the rules. So I stick within the rules, but still, I didn't want to buy another set. So it kind of was perfect that I stopped nursing at 6 months. And I'm like looking at all these notes because I don't want to forget. And it was nice. Like I have a note here that like, because I would pump and I had bottles in my family, in-laws, things, would be able to feed the girls. But I don't know how other people feel. But as a new mom, I don't like, I've heard jokes that the more kids you have, the less overbearing you are. But as a new mom, and then with my daughters being preemie, and then in the hospital, they tell you so many things with preemie babies, their immune system is compromised because they're twins, all these different things. It really messed me up. I actually had really bad postpartum anxiety, and I had a few panic attacks and things like that. So I really struggled in the beginning with allowing people to hold my babies, and I really struggled a lot. And because they were born in the winter time, it was even worse on my anxiety. So yeah, it was kind of cool to let the in-laws, but I really stressed about it. So it was so rare that I didn't play a part. I didn't really care. I really had to, like I believe I mentioned in like episode 1 or 2 or something like that. I had to set boundaries because I still will experience anxiety, but in the beginning days, I had really, really, really bad postpartum anxiety, and allowing people to hold my babies and do all that was really hard for me. I really had to like talk to myself in my mind, like, Kaylee, it's okay. You need the help. I really had to talk to myself because it was tough to allow people to hold the girls. And I feel like I feel that anxiety just talking about it. So then another thing that happened that was tough was that they outgrew their double bassinet around 4.5 months. And so they had to move to their room. Luckily, in our townhome, our rooms are like really, really close. But again, that was, it's hard. Your babies, you're used to them sleeping right next to you or sleeping with you. And then now they're in a whole nother room because they don't fit in their bed anymore. And having to wake up to go to their room and nurse them, because they would wake up at 4.5 months. They still woke up like 3 times in the night, and I had to nurse them. So what we did in the beginning was we would go get them from their cribs, bring them to our room. I would nurse them, and then when they fell back asleep, then we would pick them back up and transfer them back into their room. It sounds awful. It was. That was just what we did. Like I said, sometimes I would fall asleep, and I used the twin Z pillow to like prop them up close to me. This is really controversial, but I am sharing to be as transparent as I could because this is what got us through. I felt better, like, because I was so tired, I felt better with them being in our bed because, of course, there's more space on the side than being in our rocker with like nothing on the side. So I know like there are people out there that have tips about how to stay up while they're nursing. I'm sharing what I did. So that, I would say, we did for quite some time. We did for quite some time. Babe, when do you think that we started to go and nurse in their room?
Oh wow, stop.
No, like when we would go to their room to nurse them in the chair and then go back to our room after we would put them back down? 10 months?
More. I think 9.
9, 10 months. Okay, so like 9, 10 months, we would, like, that's when we transitioned to, if they woke up in the night. They were still waking up in the night. So don't let me tell you that they weren't. We had like maybe one random day, like one random day. But so I believe at like 9, 10 months, we would go in their room and use the rocker. And so we got a pretty large rocking chair. I got off Amazon. I delivered it right to your door. And that's what we would do. But I mean, honestly, when they were waking up in the night, a lot of times I brought them to my bed, if I'm going to be 100% honest. We did that off and on. So sometimes if only one woke up at that time, I would go in there and then I would end up getting stuck in the rocker. So honestly, around this time, it was just like I tried to not have a set, like, this is how I want it to go. I just told myself to just be flexible. We did try sleep training them, but then the crying, I just couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it. I feel like my daughters beat me with that. But then on top of that, we started to listen to different family therapists who disagreed with sleep training before your child is 1 year old. And a lot of their reasoning to explain why they felt that way made a lot of sense to us. So we tried sleep training like one night, maybe 2 nights, and then we like did a little bit more research, and then we just decided to not and go with the flow and ride it out. And that's what we did. And now they're sleeping through the night. Had been watching, I had Courtney Capano on, I believe, episode 4. She's the life of the mompreneur, but I was watching her YouTube because she also has twin daughters, but they're like a year before mine. And she was putting her daughters down like 7 to 7. And when I was pregnant, I saw that and was like, we're totally going to do that. So what we did was just try to always, like, of course your babies aren't on the schedule, in the beginning, they're too young, but just to start kind of subtly getting them into understanding that 7 o'clock we quiet down, bedtime, that type of thing. So we started that very, very early on. I would say like 3 months, 4 months we started that. And so when it was time to transition them, they now go to sleep at 7 o'clock, and it's beautiful. And they sleep till about 7:37. It's like anywhere between 7 and 8 that they wake up, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So yeah, around 9. Let me see. Let me make sure I got. Okay, another thing that I didn't mention was, I mentioned in part 1 that we did use binky bottles, pacifier, in the beginning, but at 6 months, I took them away. Right at 6 months, I took those bad boys away. I saw Binky Mouse and things like that, and it completely creeped me out. And I am privileged to have never needed braces. And so I'm hoping that my daughters don't need braces. And my mom did tell me that I never used a pacifier or Binky. So I don't know that is has to do with anything, but I also hated dealing with the pacifier. I hated taking it places. I hated it falling on the floor. I hated having to clean it. I hated having to have those binky wipes. I hated everything that had to do with the binkies and losing them. And I hated it. So as soon as 6 months came around, that's when we were told that babies didn't really need, I wouldn't say that's what we were told. That's what we saw in our research. So that's when we took away the binky. It took about 3 nights for them to not need it, because we really were only giving it to them anyway at night before they would go to bed. And yeah, so we just were like, it's gone, no more binky. And they cried. And we just stayed with them. We just stayed with them until they fell asleep. And it took 3 nights, because they say it typically takes about 3 days to break a habit with babies. So yeah, it took 3 nights, and that was it. We got rid of the binkies and haven't been dealing with those since. And I am glad of it. Glad of it. Also, I did want to touch upon the clogged ducts. So I kind of expressed some things in part 1 on how to alleviate that, but also just a tip. If you are getting clogged ducts, if you're using the heat pad, doing all the things, but you still feel like it's still happening, or you stop pumping, whatever, I make sure you're not wearing too tight of clothes. I saw a girl on TikTok who was getting a lot of like clogged ducts, and I saw like in her videos she wore a lot of sports bras and things, and that compression makes it where the compression makes it worse. Like, it even happened to me like a few months ago. When I started working out, I thought because they weren't nursing as much, I didn't have as much milk, but I wore my sports bra too long, and like I felt like it was getting backed up. And of course, since they're bigger, it went right away, but in the beginning that would have been awful. So don't wear too tight of clothes. Like I mentioned with the nursing tanks, those are really good. They are loose, and nursing bras, all the type of stuff, are typically going to be loose, or just around the house, just wear a t-shirt and let them free. um, so let me see. Okay, so I am a crunchy mom. I am thankful that I am able to be. I've always been the type to research different foods, try to better understand organic food and the benefits of different things and why we shouldn't eat a lot of processed foods and just a lot of, I've always been interested in that. And so when it came to the baby led weaning and we were offering them the bigger chunks and also purees, I made all of their purees. I just steamed everything, used a processor. I didn't really like combine a lot of foods. I see some moms getting really creative. I didn't really. I like had separate veggies and things just labeled, and then I would make a meal out of like, okay, well this is ground chicken and then this is beets and then this is that or whatever. So I typically always had a protein, a vegetable, and I didn't really do a lot of carbs in the beginning because they were, I was told that it's not good for their gut, or my research, my research showed that it wasn't good for their gut. So we just did protein and vegetables, which of course is a carb. And because they were still really young and they were younger than a year, that's what we did. And then when they hit 12 months, we started to introduce raw milk. So we started with raw goat milk. Again, it was just my cousin, she's also a crunchy mom, and she told me that that's what they did. So she said she felt that it was better for the baby's gut. She has 4 children, so this is kind of what she's found. And so I started with that. And if you're in the SoCal area, I get raw goat milk from Jimbo's, but I only can find it in half a gallon, and that's not really conducive for 2 babies needing to drink milk. So we ended up transitioning at like 13 months to raw cow's milk, and that's what they've been on. It, of course, it took my daughters, and I've heard from other, like even my niece, she was adverse to whole milk at first. I do believe my sister-in-law told me that she would give her like yogurt to try to help with the transition from breast milk to milk. And my daughters, I just kept giving it to them, honestly. And I would say that they really started to take to the milk around like 13 and a half, 14 months. So the way that I started to wean them at that when they started to like the milk. So that was like my green light to be like, okay, I can start to wean them off a little bit. I always knew that I wasn't just going to, okay, so my first thought was that I was going to be done at 18 months. That's what I told everybody. I was like, I'm going to be done at 18 months. And so when they started to take the whole milk and really drink it, and I felt that it was a good amount that they were drinking, I was like, okay, well, then I can kind of dwindle it down. So at 12 months, I was still nursing them like 4 or 5 times a day. And then at 13 months, it went to still probably like 3, maybe 4 times a day. So at 13 months, it was still like 3 or 4 times a day. And then 14 months, 14 and a half months, I ended up just doing morning, nap time, and bedtime. And then at 15 and a half months is when they started to sleep through the night. So that's when they really started to sleep through the night. This is also when I started to say, hey, I can start working out now. They're sleeping through the night and I'm getting rest finally. And I felt like I could take on another mission. And so, yeah, 15 and a half months was when a lot of things changed in a good, positive way. So, at 15 and a half months, I completely, so I believe I said at 14 and a half months is when I weaned them down to just morning, night. And then when they started sleeping through the night, drinking their milk really well. They were eating more foods at this point, so they started to eat their 3 meals a day. They would have some healthy snacks like fruit and stuff. So I felt like they were getting enough nutrients, and this is when I ended up just, going to nursing them right before bed. And that's what we've been doing since like 15 and a half, 16 months or so. That is how I've been maintaining. I did on a spontaneous night just tell my husband, like, I think they're fine. I think they'll be fine. I don't think they need me to go to sleep. And they definitely did. They screamed. And I just, maybe I'm a sucker, but I can't really deal with it. And it hasn't, for me, it hasn't been like mentally, I feel like it hasn't been that long of us getting really good sleep, even though it has been, 4 or 5 months at this point. It's still like fresh and I treasure it. So because she was crying, I was just so scared that she was going to wake up in the night, and it's good for them. I look at it as their vitamins. This is going to get into what I really wanted to talk about, also being a crunchy mom. I ended up finding like a more, what is it, alternative medicine doctor, like more naturopath and things like that. So our doctor, in order to boost our daughter's immune system and things, like we do have them on homeopathics, vitamin D, liquid fish oil, and probiotics. And these are all things that have been recommended to us by our doctor. So I'm just sharing what we are using for our daughters to be supplemented. So definitely consult your doctor if you want to supplement your children. But these are things like vitamin D, boost their immune system, and it's not something that passes through the breast milk. So I can't just take vitamin D and hope that they get it. They also need to take vitamin D. And then the fish oil, it helps with brain health. And then, of course, probiotic is gut health. So that's what we do. And then with the homeopathics, especially during like flu season and things like that, they get that once a week to fortify their immune system. And then we also give them something called arabinogalactan. And we just put that in their water, and that also fortifies their immune system. So we are a big supplement family. And speaking of supplements, if you need protein powder and things to supplement your weight loss fitness journey, you can definitely get our code K Berlini for Lineage Provision. I've only done their creatine and their protein, so I haven't tried their meat sticks or anything like that, but I love that their protein doesn't have any additives or fillers or anything that you don't want. I love that it has meat organs. What I have learned in research is that if you eat the organs, that correlates to healing your organs. So, like, we were taking liver supplements and different things, but I love that it's in the protein powder. It does taste healthy, so I don't mind things tasting healthy, if you know what I mean. So you can add honey or things to it, fruit if you want to offset the taste. But it has heart, kidney, pancreas, liver, and then grass fed bovine. And there's just sea salt and coconut water in it. So I love that it has no additives and no extra chemicals and no extra things that you don't need. They did just come out with the chocolates. I like the original because then I can make different smoothies and stuff, but they also did come out the chocolate. So yeah, check that out if you want to just support the podcast. You can use again K Berlini. So I really appreciate that I was able to get that code for you guys. But anywho, as I expressed in part one, I do recommend taking a class with your husband or partner, whoever's going to be with you, so that they can understand their role in helping you as well, especially with multiples, because it is a job for both of you. With the singleton, I have seen that it is easier. Like, it's easier for a mom to get up on her own, feed the baby, go back to sleep type of thing. But with multiples, needing that help, putting them both on, because when they both go to sleep, I can't hold two dead weight babies and try to put them in their cribs. So my husband has to be there every single time I nurse them, especially in the night. So it's an undertaking for both of us, and we're both very tired. And because I am nursing two all the time, I am overstimulated a lot. I mean, I know moms are overstimulated with their kids in general. And so I feel, because even now, even though I'm only nursing them one time a day, I still feel overstimulated. They always want to be on top of me, they always want to push up on me and things like that. And I love them and I love the cuddles, but it is overstimulating. It's a lot of touch. And then to think about being intimate with my husband, it's overwhelming and it's hard. It is really hard. And I have seen other moms address this topic. For us, luckily, we're both tired because we had to do this together. So we are pretty much on the same page with understanding that. And what I'm so grateful for of my husband is, I would say around like 10 and a half, 11 months, he started to rub my feet at bedtime. So at the last nursing session of the day. And it's just really nice. I'd be in the rocker with the girls, nursing them to sleep. And then he'd rub my feet. And it's all of us in there. I'm not in there alone. And then he comes back when they're done. We're all in there together. The lights are low or off because we're trying to get them to go to sleep. And it's just really nice. And he's been doing that ever since. So it's been months and I'm spoiled.
Shut up. Be accurate.
It's not been years.
It's been 2 years when you ruined those damn feet.
Anywho, I'm very grateful. And that has been something that, we do. We do at bedtime. And it's super nice. And because with the girls and with the lack of sleep, we kind of tend to just sit in quiet after they go to bed and do our own thing that makes us happy. And we're enjoying that time right now. This is a season and it's not forever. And yeah, I just wanted to touch upon that because it can, I mean, I'm not like, we're not perfect and things like that. There's moments where you still have to work through it, and I'm not going to get too into the nitty gritty and things like that, but just finding what works for you, finding how you and your significant other have to move during this season. Because I will say, as a mom nursing, it is tough. You are overstimulated and, you know, you know. So find what works for you. Find what's going to make you happy. That is pretty much it with the things that I wanted to mention. If y'all have any questions, please let me know. Like I said, I'm still nursing them at bedtime. I don't know when I am going to stop nursing them. I'm thinking like if they're still going strong at like 22 months, that's when I'll start making a decision, because I definitely want to be done by 2. Because there's 2 of them, I don't need 2 big babies, 2 big toddlers. I definitely think I'm going to be done by 2 for sure. And like I said, I'll do like whatever comments that y'all have. You can definitely leave them down below, and I will address that when I officially stop. And yeah, that is all the notes that I had. So as I close this video, definitely connect with me at Kaylee Berlini. If you are currently pregnant and plan on nursing, or if you are currently nursing and you are in the trenches of it right now, hashtag mothering holistically, because we would love to hear any stories or answer any questions. Definitely DM me. I would love to support you, and if I can connect you with anybody that might be able to help you, if you need to find a doula or a lactation consultant, I can definitely help you. But if I can help in any way, I would love to, because I know that it's tough, I know that it's hard, and we are in this together. So if you like this episode and feel it resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up by clicking that like button. It really helps us out. And if you feel it could encourage someone that you know, feel free to share it. And subscribe while also hitting that notification bell to never miss a weekly episode. Until next time, remember to mother holistically and thrive authentically. I'm your host, Kaylee Berlini, and together we're winning. Bye, y'all.